week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 327. Mr. Somich.
Huzzah! Man,
welcome back. You're looking tan and well rested. You're looking good, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I am happy to be here, excited to get this thing going, and super happy that the first 10 seconds to my first show back, you decided to freeze. All right, now you're back again. I like it.
I was just looking at that. I was trying to figure out if that was you or me. I even did a hard reboot right before we got to go. My computer was too excited for you to be showing back up. So, yeah, welcome back. You're looking very tan, very well rested, and yeah, you had a good time in Florida. You got to you were conveniently at a spot with very bad internet for that long time.
It wasn't great. I was expecting better internet, not going to lie. It wasn't wonderful. Mm-hmm. It was a very secure building from an internet perspective. Every single condo, the password was the name of the condo and the number. Every single one. So wow. Security wasn't quite on the height that you'd expect in some places. So that gave you an idea of how the internet was set up and kind of what we were functioning with. I wasn't exactly expecting that, but here we are. So unfortunately, I brought all the camera equipment, brought the microphone, everything, got down there, and I was like,
yep, guess we're not doing this after all.
Yeah.
Well, while you were gone, Aaron filled into on Monday's show, and we talked about the racing action from Thanksgiving, but there wasn't anything too significant that Maxfield won, but we don't really have to talk about that because, we know how we feel about Maxfield. Hey, you know what, Churchill Downs, he's a great horse.
I'm shocked he won that race. I thought Happy Saver was going right by down the lane. I mean, he dug in. I'll give him credit for that one.
He did. Well, that race is anywhere but Churchill Downs. I don't think he digs in. I think Happy Saver gets him. But then Aaron was on to, we covered the late pick 4 for Oaklawn, which opens on Friday, so that's really exciting. We'll be covering that over at racenews.com. I know you're going to be doing that with the grid. But possibly throw up some bombs as well for it. So Oaklawn's coming back. Aqueduct has the last graded stakes races in New York for this year. Actually, until January 29th. I was looking at the calendar earlier today. After Saturday, January 29th is the next graded stakes race at Aqueduct. So when we talk about how the better talented horses go down to Florida, we mean it.
Well, and Oaklawn this year. I mean, that's the other thing. You're competing in multiple places now. With Oaklawn opening up, you're going to have a lot of horses that would have been in New York that end up down in Oaklawn. I'm interested to see where some of these 2-year-olds the 2-year-olds debut late in the year, if it's going to be at the Gulfstream Championship meet or if it's going to be at Oaklawn. So be interesting to see how that plays out with December racing in Arkansas this year.
Well, you were gone for a little over a week. You got a lot to think about. What's the best thing you saw?
I mean, as ironic as this is, I mean, look, the vacation was great. I absolutely loved Sanibel Island. Awesome place. If you've never been there, check it out. It's in Florida. Tomorrow's horse racing kind of snuck up on me, man. It's going to be the best thing I saw because it's like, so I was planning on doing bombs at both Oaklawn and both Gulfstream Park. And then it was like, well, now I kind of have to do it at Aqueduct too, because we have a $256,000 or whatever carryover in the pick 6. So like all of a sudden Aqueduct is pretty relevant tomorrow. And then on top of that, Golden Gate Fields is just like sneaking in here with the $32,000 pick 5 carryover too. So the racing action tomorrow is absolutely incredible for a Friday. I mean, we get Oaklawn opening up. We get championship meet. We got 2 big-time carryovers. What more could you ask for, right?
I mean, it's going to be pretty great. The Aqueduct racing, despite it all being dirt racing, it came up really great for this weekend as well. And also, not just that, but we'll get into it more, but the Remsen and the Demoiselle, which are the Derby and Oaks preps, they're running a mile and an eighth. And this year, these horses, even if they continue on those trails, they won't go a mile and an eighth if they're the fillies. They'll do it in the Kentucky Oaks. If they're the males, they'll do it for those 100-point prep races. So it's a tricky distance, and you usually don't see that many good horses show up. But I think at least whether or not they turn anything, Mike, I think we could agree, betting-wise, this is going to be a really fun Aqueduct card.
Yeah, I can't wait to shit on these 2-year-olds later in the career. But for these races, I'm excited about them, right? And I do think they're wide open, too, because they're just a bunch. There's some horses that I think are going to get way over bet. There's a specific Chad Brown horse, spoiler alert, that I'm leaving off, that you're going to tell me why he's going to win by 5 lengths. And it's just one of those where I think he's going to get heavily bet. I think I can fade him. And there's, the Phillies side, I think that there's a chance to get an upset there. And I think the last race is a lot more wide open than people necessarily think as well. So I think the last 3 races are fun. I ended up kind of cavemaning it up here on the ticket because I thought that you could get a price in each leg, and I'm going to chuck a couple favorites.
Yeah, I went through that, and I'm looking at our tickets now, and we've got enough agreement that it'll be interesting and keep the show short, but we've got enough disagreement to keep it interesting. So I'm excited to get in that just a second. Best thing that I saw, the Detroit Red Wings have now won 3,001 because they won again last night against Seattle, but 3,000 wins in NHL in NHL history for the franchise. 4th team in the NHL to ever do it. Can you name? You probably can. Can you name the other 3 teams that are ahead of them?
3 teams ahead of them: Montreal Canadiens, Boston
number
Bruins,
1, 2,
New York Rangers.
Oh no, who's number 2 in Stanley Cups behind Montreal? Toronto.
Oh, yeah. I guess you have those like old years in Toronto. It's the first 6, right? So then Chicago, and so you have a limited choices right there. I mean, that's the thing. Congratulations, you've won that many. Okay, how many most wins since? And you may actually be in the lead with this. Since '69 is when I would say the NHL started to become a little more competitive, because then you had the 6 original teams and the 6 new teams in separate conferences, so you had at least competitive separate conferences. Because in those early years, man, you have 6 teams, you're gonna win a bunch of games. Come on.
It's like the Montreal Canadiens with 20-some Stanley Cups. It's like, okay, but how many of those did you win against 5 other teams? Most of them.
It's like the Lakers and their titles, right? Or don't they have a ton of titles before everyone got going? And UCLA basketball before the college basketball actually grew out to
John
all the
Wooden.
teams.
Yeah.
There's one team in every sport that just has a bunch of championships, but don't necessarily have them in the modern era, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for shitting all over my best thing that I saw. I appreciate that.
Well, I hate the Red Wings, so I kind of have to do that. Quick thing too, because I know I assume you're watching this. I expected to hate Hawkeye, and I love Hawkeye, so I'm like all in on this Hawkeye thing here. I cannot wait for the 4th episode.
I won't say that I hated it or that I didn't think I was going to like it. I thought I would enjoy it, but I'm with you. I really like it as well. So, but yeah, I was going to save that for usually we wait till after the series are over, but I'm with you. I like it as well. What I also like is when my computer's not jumping around. Am I freezing again?
You're not too bad. While you're twiddling with it, it's you're kind of like Skippy magic right now. Gulfstream I think is going to be interesting too with the championship meet. It's the first time we're going to have the Tapeta. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that when certain races come off the turf. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays. I've been trying to watch replays as much as possible with the Tapeta surface to get a better idea, a better feel for it going into it. But I'm definitely going to we're going to kind of wade into the shallow end here early in the meet and then dive into the deep end when we get to like the second half of December. Because I do think watching early tendencies on that surface, especially when there's rain on it and when there's not, is important for that place. And what they're going to do with some of these races when they come off the turf. Because I have no idea they're going to take them off the turf and they're going to put them on the Tapeta surface. They're going right to the dirt, or what they're going to do there. Because the original intent was to use it as the off the turf surface so you don't get as many scratches. But they've been carding 4 or 5 races a day on there too. I mean, I think opening day is 4 on the dirt, 4 on Tapeta, and 3 on turf. Now, in those 11 races, they got 115 entries, which is spectacular, right? But you definitely have to take a little grain of salt here early in the meet and watch how the surface is going to play.
I saw someone talking about that, and they said it's all fun and games now, but just wait until Florida Derby Day when the key like pick 4, pick 5, pick 6 sequence gets decided on a Tapeta surface race that it's like $12,000 starter allowance horses. And you're like, how the fuck am I supposed to handicap this race?
Yeah, but Woodbine's Tapeta, Golden Gate, there are other surfaces here that have the same. Now, this is obviously a little bit different, but Turfway Park, I mean, there's other places where you have this similar surface. To me, it's more about having the information to make the right decision. It's not necessarily when that actual race happens. I mean, if it's carded for Tapeta, it's on Tapeta, you're handicapping for Tapeta, deal with it, handicap it. But you need to have the information to understand over the longer term of it. Okay, how have speed horses done going short? How have they done going long? And right now, we have a limited data set, especially with better horses. And so it's going to be interesting to see when a little bit higher caliber trainer and horse get there and see how that surface plays.
I just like that you're like, listen, the Tapeta's there. You know it's going to be there. Deal with it. Shut up and bet.
Or don't bet. Just don't bet if you have that big of an issue. Just don't bet it. But you're going to get some huge pools, and that's the thing. You're going to get some monster pick 6s, some big time pick 5s on this surface. So it's your choice to whether or not you decide to pay attention or not pay attention. I think it's a beatable meet, so I'm going to be paying attention.
Well, like Mike said, either shut up and bet or don't play it, which is why we're at Aqueduct this weekend for the all-graded stakes late pick 4, which includes a Cigar Mile Grade 1 race, 2 preps for the Oaks and the Derby, and a go for Wand just for good measure. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up! I
We're
freeze
back.
again.
Man.
God
No,
damn
you're
it.
good. You're good the whole time.
No, I might have been there. I need a new. Is it the new year yet? I need a new computer for Christmas. Kicking off the late pick 4 sequence at Aqueduct on Saturday, December 3rd. Part of the all graded stakes sequence. We got a field of 7 fillies and mares, older horses going 1-turn mile on the dirt in the grade $3, $250,000 go for Wand Handicap. Your favoritism here is on number 2, Lady Rocket for Brad Cox. I ride Ortiz Jr. going to ride. Second choice here on the morning line, 7-2. Number 7, Sharp Star, won this race last year as a 3-year-old in the slop. Can she do it again as a 4-year-old on what is likely going to be fast dirt? Mike Somich, your top pick.
Oh, it's not Sharp Star. Only horse with 100 buyer in here, too. So you can kind of look at that and you scratch your head a little bit. Horse absolutely loves Aqueduct as well. 6 efforts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2/3. But this is the one race where I kind of like the favorite. I like the 2 horse here. I like Lady Rocket. I think this is just your most consistent horse. I'm a little concerned about the mile distance. We haven't tried that yet, but the fact that this is a 1-turn mile, I think kind of benefits Lady Rocket in this spot. I also don't see there's a little bit more pace in here. I kind of disagree with some of the time form numbers, but there's not an abundance of pace. I think Lady Rocket is the fastest horse in this field, gets a little bit loose on the lead. I think Miss Marissa probably tracks her about half a length back, somewhere in there. But I think Lady Rocket gets comfortable. Is awfully dangerous here. I do like a couple others in here, but I'm going to put the 2 on top.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if there's one favorite that you could be confident in, this is the one I'm going to be most confident in. I ended up, with that being said, I did use a couple of others here, and it sounds like you did as well. So where are you going to spread around the favorite?
Well, I mentioned Miss Marissa and the pace specifically. I don't see a ton of pace in here. And you have Lady Rocket, who is a shorter going horse, a 6 furlong, 7 furlong type horse, who's going to be on the lead, going to be setting the pace. And then you have Miss Marissa, who has a similar early time form rating. And the Equinage speed figures are similar on this as well, where you have the 2 just in front of the 1. Look, if I have a horse that has more stamina, who's going to be that close, I kind of like the 1 horse's ability here to close in a little bit. And I think 4-1 is not a bad price. I think you might actually get a little bit more than 4-1 here too. The numbers fit. It's a late in the 4-year-old season horse. So you could kind of make an argument that this horse could logically take a step forward. Biggest concern is we really haven't seen this horse around 1 turn very often. And so going to be a little bit hesitant to see what we're able to do there. But the horse has tried Aqueduct 4 times, has won at the distance. So I'm going to put the 1 horse, Miss Marissa, in second. I'm going to take a little bit of a stab with my 3rd horse, and the last horse I'm going to use, and that's going to be Truth Hurts. I don't use Chad Summers' horses a lot. I realize Truth Hurts needs to improve to be able to compete with this bunch. But I like this second off the layoff. I like the second as a 4-year-old. I think Truth Hurts has a chance to take a big-time step forward. And since adding the blinkers, this horse has just gotten better and better and better. You're going to need a big step forward. But if you do have the 1 and the 2 hook up early, I think Truth Hurts is going to be the one who's sitting in the right spot and can kind of pick up those 2 pieces.
Chad Summers with not 1 but 2 horses in this sequence that we're going to talk about. So I didn't use either one of those horses. Miss Marissa, you nailed why I didn't. It's the distance. She has won at this distance before, and this is not a group of world beaters, right? If there are horses who are stretching out, trying to possibly tackle a mile, and there's questions about that, you don't have any questions about her. You know she'll be running. She'll definitely be passing any horses that might stumble bunny. But I'm going to go ahead and take a shot with the 3-horse Bella Vita. I'm only going too deep here, so I'm going to use Bella Vita as well. It's a horse she's been sneaky good in California. If you take off the Homer, yeah, sure, whatever. Listen, the only question mark that she really has is, can she take her form outside of California? That's a big question, but Simon Callahan, I actually looked this up because I was like, Callahan is a big California trainer, rarely ever leaves. When he did, it was with Unique Bella, and we know that she was a complete play against outside of California. Despite that, Callahan's actually 6 for 34, which is 18% when he's outside of California the last 5 years in graded stakes races. So he can take horses out and go win graded stakes races outside California. I also love that Joel Rosario is going to ride this horse, and this is going to tie into what Brie Glotzer had mentioned earlier in the chat. Brie was blown up by Ken DeSormo. Ken DeSormo was riding his ass off at Del Mar at the end of the meet. Do you ever play a jockey that's hot? Yeah, Joel Rosario is going for 2 records in the same year between earnings and graded stakes wins. So I really think that Rosario is going to be a great fit for this horse. I think she's going to sit the perfect pocket trip, sitting right behind the 2 speed horses, which are both right to her inside. If Rosario's got to keep her out of trouble because she's going to be inside of some other horses probably there. But I think she should be able to get first run. I'm getting Rosario on her. I love that about her.
So I play a horse jockeys when they get hot. The answer is that one is yes as well. I think confidence is a huge part of being a jockey. I don't think it's talked about enough. When someone is riding well, they're generally riding confidently, which means they're sending horses when they should be sent. They're going for holes that are there that maybe not when they're not as confident. They're not second guessing what their decisions are during a race. I think that's what really makes the difference between kind of a hot jockey and a cold jockey in a lot of senses. I got to magic you with this horse. This horse sucks without Lasix. 3 starts without Lasix might be the three worst in her career.
Well, she won last time without it. Because she beat California breds, but she did win last time without it.
Yeah, she ran an 81 buyer last time. She gets crushed by 10 if she does that again.
That's very true. By the way, speaking of magicking me with the Lasix, I owe you. We're going to put it right there. Right idea, wrong donkey is the message, because the last time Mike and I did a show, it was for... I honestly forget what race it was for, but Mike was on Kiss Today Goodbye, and I was on some donkey on the rail, and both of them, by the way, coming into the race without having won on Lasix or done very well without it. My horse actually had never run without Lasix. My horse is the one that needed Lasix, apparently, because he started bleeding at the quarter pole, and Mike said, trust the trainer. And what happens? The horse almost won. So congratulations, I just paid up my bet.
I thought he was going to get by. I thought Kiss Today Goodbye was going to win that race top of the lane, and I was about to just have a string of texts fired over to you. So, yeah, thank you very much. That will be well spent on some whiskey. I appreciate
some Woodenville.
And some Woodenville. And you want to do Miss Marissa and Bella Vita here? I'll let you win it back. Come on. No, you can win it back right here.
I almost singled Lady Rocket, but I was like, I'm not going to single to start off a pick 4. That's bad. Not with the favorite like that. So might as well play the pick 3, right, Mike?
Might as well play the pick 3. I don't hate the idea of playing a press ticket here with Lady Rocket if someone wants to. If you want to start a $5 ticket, if you got big opinions later in the sequence, I don't hate that idea either. I think we both agree we're taking a little bit more swings in this race, and I'm like leaving favorites off later, so it kind of makes me more confident in doing it here.
Speaking of favorites to leave off, let's move on to the second leg of the All Greatest Stakes, pick 4 at Aqueduct on Saturday, December 3rd. This is the Grade 2 $250,000 Remsen Stakes. You've got a field of 8 juveniles, all colts in here. They're going to try and go 2 turns a mile in an 8th here. 10 points to the Kentucky Derby Trail to the winner. And look, no Bob Baffert horses. That means that's actually 10 points that will be earned. It could go to the favorite on the rail, Mo Donegal, at 8-5 for Todd Pletcher. Chad Brown with the 7-horse Zandon, 5-2, second choice, way outside there. Plenty of betting options here. Joel Rosario's riding for Chad Brown. Rosario won this with Brooklyn Strong last year. Where are you going to go on top?
Okay, so first off, I love David Aragona, who makes the morning line in New York. This is not a good morning line. Zandon's going to be 6-5 in this race when they finally go off. I think that
sounds like it.
Heavily bet here. So I don't think that this morning line is necessarily accurate. I'm going to use Mo Donegal. I'm not going to put him on top. I'm going to chuck Zandon completely. We'll get into that when you tell me why I'm an idiot. The 3-horse Judge Davis is going to be my top pick here. I think this is one of those horses that can kind of has taken steps forward. I like the mile and 16th effort at Belmont 2 back. The Nashville was one of those where when you watch it back, it was actually a pretty good race. The horse just got a little bit tired late. I like the fact we were able to make up some ground. And when you look back at that effort, it's a pretty good effort. And you beat the 4-horse in here, who you've got similar form to Mo Donegal. You've got Life is Good is a horse we're going to talk about, even though Life is Good is not in this.
Life is Great.
I'm sorry, is a horse we're going to talk about, even though Life is Great is not in this race. And so when you look at the like horses and you look at the fact that I think the 3 has the most experience and could take another step forward here, also should absolutely love the distance. The combination of those make me want to end up with the 3 on top. I also like the fact that we're adding blinkers, a move that Shug is 17% with. So give me the 3 on top. My other must use was the 1 Mo Donegal, who I think is the other logical horse in here. I noticed you didn't use Mo Donegal. I'm really interested to hear why you didn't use Mo Donegal. So I'll make the case for, then you can make the case against. Look, the last race was really good. It was really good. And the first effort was a nice step forward. So I just like the improvement from the first effort to the second effort. And this just seems like a horse that Pletcher really wants to get going. If you watch back that race, the mile 16th, the horse, like it says off a step slow, missed the break and then had to kind of get its footing under him, get back into it, had to make a wide move, sweep the field, get it done. And that race comes back pretty good when you look at, again, Life is Great, which is the horse we're going to talk about, who runs third in that race, ends up coming back to break its maiden, and the 4-horse who's in this race here. I think that effort from Mo Donegal was better than what it looks like on paper. And it looks pretty darn good on paper.
So I'll start by saying we agree on Judge Davis and the preview, the full free preview for this race that Aaron and I recorded. It's on youtube.com/racingdudes right now, so you can check that out. The morning line came out as we were recording that, and he said on there, he says, I love this horse, especially at this price. You're getting 5-1 on a Shug McGahee horse, and I'll quote Aaron that it just feels like is the naturally progressing Shug McGahee horse. Remember Code of Honor, remember Greatest Honor last year. This is what Shug does with these 2-year-olds as they're turning 3. Doesn't rush them, doesn't push them. He feels out what do they need. In this case, he's like, the horse needs blinkers. I think he did that with Greatest Honor, too. I think blinkers were the issue with him as well. So you're getting all of these classic Shug moves, and you're getting 5-1 on it. It's like, all right, I mean, that's pretty great. Aaron thought the horse was going to be favored. As far as Mo Donegal and Zandon, first off, you and I can agree, you can't play both of them, right? If you're going to play one, you can't play the other based on ticket structure, right?
I agree, yes.
Okay, so I then had to decide which one I'm going to use. Zandon's debut to me was pretty impressive. He hit the gate. He was off a little slow, was in between horses, was blocked at the top of the stretch, had to get out. When he finally did, boy, he kicked into gear. And not only that, but Chad Brown said after the race, you notice the horse wasn't favored. Chad said he was surprised that he won because they didn't think that 6 furlongs was the right distance. He said this is a pure route horse. We just kind of needed a race to get into him. Very surprised that he won, so they did it all based on his talent. Now, that could all be hearsay. 6 furlongs to a mile and an eighth. Huge step up, even if Chad Brown's your trainer. But I like that there's at least spacing between the races, right? He didn't rush his Zandon into something else. He trained him. Hopefully, for my sake, got some stamina built into him. Let's talk about your horse, Mo Donegal. You brought up a big reason why I'm against this horse. Off a step slow. Not just once, but both times that he started. Todd Pletcher's had another really talented 2-year-old who really couldn't get out of his own way with the gate, and that was Wit. This horse reminds me a lot of Wit, where he's got a lot of talent, but he needs to figure out how to get out of his own way. At Aqueduct, going 9 furlongs, going 2 turns, buried on the rail, if he's off slow, he's not just going to be off a step slow. He's going to be shuffled all the way to the back, Mike. That is a quick run into that turn, and he will be dead last if he's not careful. So based off of that, plus I can't use him with the 7, who is my top pick here, that's why I'm against Mo Donegal.
Okay. I mean, the break is an issue, is a thing I get. I mean, to me, there's too much stacked up against the 7 here. So, again, I'm going to compare them directly.
Because the distance?
Well, not the distance. Like you mentioned his debut. You talked about, okay, it was really visually impressive. And yes, he had some trouble in it. It was visually impressive. And then you look at the next race, and you look, oh, look, the second-place finisher came out and ran 3rd in a maiden. And the third-place finisher came out and ran 2nd in a maiden. And the 4th-place finisher won. But let's dig a little deeper, my friend. The 4th-place finisher won on turf. So let's not worry about that. The second
Wait, they're not. They're running this on. They're running this race on turf, though, right? It's perfect.
No. The second and the 3rd-place finisher from that race. You know who they ran 2nd and 3rd to next time out?
Who was it, Mike?
It was Life is Great, who beat them by 6 lengths. No Donegal beat Life is Great by 7. So the horse that beat the 2 horses that ran 2nd and 3rd in the 7's debut got beat by the 1 by 7 lengths. That is one of the main reasons why, like, when you look at these and you go through it and you're like, that look, debut on the 7 looks great. All the races the next time out look great, but you dig a little deeper and it's like a similar horse got absolutely rolled by the 1 horse, who the other 2 finished behind. So for me, when I look at that and then I look at the question marks where this horse has to stretch out, you mentioned the 1 doesn't break well, but the 1 can close. And guess what? There's a lot of speed in here. The 7 is going to be forwardly placed. The 3 is going to be forwardly placed. The 4 is going to be forwardly placed. So all of a sudden that the 1 not breaking isn't as big of an issue because of both the distance. And I actually don't mind the 1 draw. If you're not going to run a step early, you might as well save ground. And I know the 1's going to save ground. So with all of that, it's like, look, I just, I don't want the 7 at this price trying something new out of a race that I think is kind of a paper tiger. The 7 might err. The 7's going to be the favorite in my mind. But I want to try and beat this horse.
Mike said, when you're doing the 6 lengths, 7 lengths, that's like 15 lengths or something.
It is like 15 lengths. It's like it's a big time gap. So essentially, Mo Donegal beat the horses that Zandon beat by 15 lengths last time out, without breaking.
Before we figure out how 6 + 7 = 15, we both went 3 deep. We both liked horses that are 6-1 in here, different ones, but 6-1 horses here. So tell me about the New York bred number 2. I'll let you say the name.
Who? That's me. I love it. I think that's a great name. That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
It's probably an owl joke somewhere in there. Look, this is one of those examples where this horse just keeps getting better. And I don't think this horse is going to get bet. I think it's going to get completely ignored at the windows because it's coming out of state bred company. But every single time, this horse has just improved a little bit more, improved a little bit more. Yeah, we need to take a big step. Well, actually, technically, this is the best last out buyer. We don't need to take a step forward. We run the exact same race. This horse wins, but I don't necessarily believe that. I do think the 2 needs to improve a little bit here to win, but I also don't see why the 2 can't improve. This is one of the more experienced horses in the group, going to be its 5th start. And like I said, it's gotten better every single time. The distance, I don't think, is a huge issue here for the 2. You've seen the 2 pass horses and win professionally, which matters for me. So I think the 2 Who That's Me is going to be the overlay here in a sense where I think 6-1 is going to float up on race day. I think you're going to get closer to 10-1 on the 2 horse. And I think that's where you get the upside from.
Boy, I looked pretty closely at the 2 because you've got a Son of Keen Ice out of a hard-spun mare. This horse should have no issue going 9 furlongs. It's a question of if he'll be fast enough to be there at the end, but I think he's definitely an intriguing one, and you talked about his improving form. The 2 horses he finished behind in that state-bred stakes in the Sleepy Hollow, those are both really damn good 2-year-olds, regardless of being New York breds. That's Ship Station and Overstep. So those are 2 horses you want to keep an eye on once they turn 3, both against New York bred company and if they try going against open company here. I went with the 4 from Another Mother, and it's a little odd because I'm picking a maiden here, but first off, Mike and I talking about the 2 favorites, you can tell there aren't world beaters, we think, in this race. So, yeah, take a maiden in this spot. I think that this horse could potentially be Lone Speed. I think this horse only has one chance to win, and that's to try and go to the front. Judge Davis does have a really high early time form pace race, but he's also adding blinkers. You don't know what's going to actually happen to the horse if they're going to try and get him to settle off, if they want him to go to the front. You know From Another Mother is going to go to the front. And I think that even though he's been caught the last 2 races going a little short of Mount of 16th, I think going to Mount of 8th is actually going to help him. And I think going 2 turns is really going to help him because the speed that he's going to have trying to carry that 2 turns, it makes him a lot more effective than if he was 1 turn. Great example, Knicks Go. Why was Knicks Go so easy to beat at 1 turn? I don't know. Maybe it's because the horses that were beating at 1 turn could get that 1 turn kick. When they have to go 2 turns, that kick that they have really gets stretched thin. And I think that there is a small chance that if this horse gets loose, I think that because he's going to get forgotten at the window, I think I've got a decent shot at an upset here.
I don't hate it. And actually, the Equinedge agrees with you on the pace projection. They have him as Lone Speed here. They think the 5 is going to be chasing in second. I expect the 7 to be forwardly placed. I think that the 7 didn't break well last time. It was still close to a 22-second first quarter. And that, to me, is actually the real pace pressure here. I think the 3, Judge Davis, sits right behind the 2. But I think it's going to be really interesting what the 7 does out of the gate, and that's really going to determine what the 4 ends up doing. But I agree. The 4 is sending. I think the 4 has to go. And so since you're inside of the 7, I would expect the 4 to be in the lead. It's not like he got beat by a head or a nose last time out. He got beat by a length and a half against Mo Donegal, who didn't break, who should have absolutely no issue. Uncle Mo out of a pulpit mare going the distance. So it's like, I think a lot of things have to change for the 4 to be able to turn the tide on the 1.
I will say, to that note, I thought that Joel Rosario waited way too long to step on the gas in the stretch. If you watch, he was at the Belmont's really long, so I think he's about the 3/16 pole, and he was still a statue. And you see Mo Donegal just is coming with his momentum. That was the way I read it, but Mike is correct. He did get beat by more than a length. The penultimate leg of the late pick 4, all graded stakes action at Aqueduct on Saturday, December 3rd. Great $250,000 Demoiselle Stakes, field of 8 2-year-old fillies going a mile and 1/8 on the dirt. 10 Kentucky Oaks points to the winner. And last year's winner of this race, Mike, was Malathat. She ends up being the Kentucky Oaks winner. I don't know that the 2022 Kentucky Oaks winner is in this field. There are some decent ones in here, so we'll see what we figure out. There might be a Malathat-esque horse actually here. Where are you going on top?
I'm going to go the 6, Tap the Faith on top. This just looks like a monster. And this is another one who should appreciate every bit of this distance. You've only had 1 horse in here, the 1 Misinterpret, who's gone 2 turns. Tap the Faith won, debuting at a mile, and got kind of a dream trip going up the rail. But again, we're going to talk about a Mo Ready. I think it's a Mo Ready there, who's this ran second in that race. As a common horse here, or a common theme thread that we're going to go back to. But when you go back and you watch Tap the Face debut, I mean, just beautiful. I mean, it's just a professional effort from a young 2-year-old filly, clearly wants more distance. This is a horse that if I get around 3-1, I'm actually going to be betting on the race day because I think that's a pretty good price in here. And I'm not exactly scared away by a bunch of the other horses I think are going to take money in this spot. So for me, it was 6, Tap the Faith on top.
Wasn't my topic, but I agree with you. I love her here. You talked about that race. So Amore is actually one of the horses in my racehorse stable. So I'm very familiar with Amore somehow managing to lose that race at 1-5, I believe she was. Not too thrilled about that, but I am thrilled to play Tap the Faith here. I think this is a great horse. Who do you want riding her other than Joelle Rosario when it looks like she's gonna get a perfect stalking position too. Bought for $1.25 million. She's the daughter of the Alabama winner from 2014. So, yeah, distance is definitely going to be something she handles. Speaking of distance, the 2-1 favorite Nest is not only is she a daughter of Curlin out of an AP Indy mare, which is exactly what Malathat is, she is a full sister to Idol, who won the Grade 1 Big Cap going a mile and a quarter. So, again, if there was a horse that was bred for this distance and to handle it in her sleep, it's probably going to be Nest. So you and I both use Nest. We both use Tap the Faith. I don't know that we need to say a whole lot about them. You can touch on Nest and then talk to me about the long shot you're using.
Yeah, Nest just makes sense, right? And it's just a horse that you would expect to take another step forward here. Last time out was 4-1 in the same race as Magic Circle and Gerrymander. Ends up running a game third here. At Magic Circle runs second, but to me that was a nose bob one way or the other, and I'd take the pedigree of the 5 over the 7. So for me, the 5 and the 6 makes sense. And then you have Pletcher putting in another horse. And I mentioned only one horse in this field has gone 2 turns. I was interested in Miss Interrupt going 2 turns in that Keeneland race, and she just ran a clunker. Too bad to believe in my mind. Mm-hmm. The fact that Pletcher then goes, you know what? I've got the favorite. I'm going to run Nest back. I'm going to run Misinterpret back here. That to me is one of those where it's like, it's kind of a head scratcher because he clearly thought that was just a complete anomaly, that race at Keeneland. And if Pletcher is saying that race is a complete anomaly, has the post-time favorite, who we both agree has a huge shot in here and was a favorite in the grade stakes before, or shorter price in grade stakes before, and you're just throwing Misinterpret back into this spot, give me that 10-1. Sign me up. I will take the other Pletcher here, and hopefully we can get a nice price home in the third leg.
I almost used her. I looked at it for that exact reason, because I think if you scratch that off, the Alcibiades Stakes, that she doesn't have that Pletcher improvement, the angle that really you like to see, because she's had, even if you scratch off the Alcibiades, she's got 4 starts, and she hasn't really taken a big step forward. She still could, but to me, that's kind of what the deciding factor was. We talked also about last race. There's one horse in there that's a maiden in the Remsen that they've got one shot, and that's to go to the front and try to hold him off. Let me introduce you to my friend Chad Summers' horse, the 8, Full Count Felicia. This is a turf horse, daughter of Warfront, out of a Galileo mare. Should be able to handle the distance. Has never raced on dirt. What is her one chance in hell of winning this race is to do what she did last time on the turf going a mile at Belmont and hope like hell nobody goes with her and it gives her kickback. And I think she's good enough that she could actually sneak free. By the way, when was the last time Chad Summers had a horse that cost $200,000 at auction?
Never. But Warfront out of a Galileo mare? Come on. This horse is turf. It's turf. I understand why you're taking a shot here. I do. And
30-1. 30-1.
Yeah. Look, it's a great underneath play. A wonderful trifecta horse. The waters are kind of deeper here.
Oh, yes.
I get the 30-1 price. So I would never talk anyone off a 30-1 price. If you like a 30-1 horse, use your 30-1 horse. Don't get me wrong. To me, this is just one of those spots where it's like, the pace advantage isn't that clear. She's not a total need the lead horse. Like it's not like she's like, I need to be in front to be able to get the job done. I agree with you. I expect to see her in front. I think she kind of inherited the lead more than anything last time. Not being able to get
she wasn't pushed to it. Yeah, you're right.
It's like it was a mediocre pace going to 1 mile at Belmont. It's just I wouldn't talk you off it, but I wouldn't use it either.
I will say Anador, the horse that beat her last by a head there, Anador collared her pretty much at the top of the stretch, and I love the Full Count Felicia on the rail. Never gave up. It was ahead the entire way. At one point around the just inside the 8th pole, it looked like she was coming back a little bit. Anador ran back in the Tempted Stakes at Aqueduct last week on the turf, and she was 5th, but she had a really bad trip. She was I think she was the 3-1 second choice. So a good filly who beat her in that race is my point. But we'll see what happens. Sorry, go ahead.
Before we go on, I want to make sure I at least mention Venti Valentine. Did you look at this horse at all?
Not that closely. Yeah.
So this one, it came out of the race that Venti Valentine broke her maiden in, produced 3 next out winners, also let her Inspire You as a decent horse, $500,000 practical joke horse that was in that race, then comes back, is able to get the job done in the Made a Miss. It's a state bred race going a mile, but in the slop. That race has been, in my mind, kind of decently productive. The captain's daughter comes out and runs second in a $100,000 stakes race next start. So you haven't seen DeForcy, who's supposed to be pretty good, come back yet either. So it's going to be interesting to see what more comes out of that race. This would be the kind of my next horse in here in the sequence, Vente Valentine, if I have scratches out, because this one is just interesting to me. Now, if Pletcher scratches the 1, I may play a press ticket with the 5 single here. I mean, that's because that's showing you even more confidence in the 5 nest here. But to me, the 3 horse is interesting. I didn't end up putting on a ticket because of cost, but I thought the 3 had a shot at beating this group if again, she's able to improve and handle the distance.
From the running style, she's a little different than Malathat, because Malathat was a grinder, but Malathat was she was almost like a train, like a bull. It was coming. You knew it was going to get there. It's going to be close. But Ness with that breeding just makes her so intriguing to me here. And I'm with if the 1 gets scratched, send it in on the 5. I think that's a pretty strong sign of things to come. Mike Love in the New York breds. Let's see if he keeps that going in the 4th and final leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Aqueduct, an all graded stakes sequence that ends in the feature race, the Grade 1 Cigar Mile Handicap. $750,000 purse on the line. Field of 8 in here, Mike. Half of them are 3-year-olds, and half of those 3-year-olds belong to Todd Pletcher, the rail horse following C. And hey, look, your favorite on the morning line, 5-2, New York bred American Revolution, number 3. Where are you going?
You know, one of the horses in this field owes me money, and I'm going to put that horse on top. I'm taking Following C.
I knew it.
Yeah, well, look, we talked about this at the Breeders' Cup. I was really impressed with the Breeders' Cup sprint from Following C. I used the horse. I thought the horse had a shot at winning. We were getting 20-1 that day. I wish we were getting 21 today. Go back and watch the replay. Following C got shut off on the rail. I mean, absolutely shut off. I've watched it a couple times while drinking since, and I think that Following C would have beaten Dr. Scheibel if he gets through the rail. And if he beats Dr. Scheibel, he probably beats Aloha West. So, I mean, to me, the trip cost Following C a Breeders' Cup victory, which would have been, by the way, one hell of a story. If a son of Run Happy wins the Breeders' Cup Sprint at 3, like that would have been pretty incredible, especially I took a lot of, I said some not kind words on this show about Run Happy that I need to retract, and I've been retracting on Twitter for the last 4 or 5 months since his prodigy has started to run really well, actually. I like Following C in this spot. There's enough pace in front of him. I think he's going to sit a good trip. I'm not worried about the mile distance. We just talked about the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but this horse has gone over a mile, went a mile and 1/8 and kind of fell apart a little late in the Haskell, but I still think ran well enough in that race that he'll fare well against this group. The fact that he was closing on that 6 furlong pace in the Breeders' Cup Sprint absolutely blew them away in the Vosburg. I mean, look, ran the 3rd behind Jackie's War in Life is Good, which amazing, really, in the Jerkins when you think about it. So for me, yeah, Following C, I think, is the top pick here. And 5-1, I like the number.
So you and I went 4 deep in this race, and we agree on 3 of them, including this one. It wasn't my second choice here, but for every reason that you mentioned, I watched again that I didn't have any money on him in the sprint, so it wasn't as hard for me to watch. But I watched that again, and oh my God, when he gets shut off, if you imagine he doesn't get shut off and carries that momentum when he cuts the turns so sharply, I'm with you. He beats Dr. Scheibel, I think, at the 16th pole. And at that point, Aloha West isn't catching him. I think that he now remember, there was that inside bias at Del Mar, but assuming that wasn't an issue, I'm with you. Following C was winning. My one concern with the horse, and you're going to know a 16th of a mile into this race if he's got a shot or not. He's buried on the rail, and there's enough speed in this race that if he's a 2-wide duel, I think he can handle it. But you've talked about this before, why the Breeders' Cup Sprint was bad for Jackie's Warrior. You get a 3-wide pace duel, all 3 of you are done. Nobody's winning that one. So you're going to find out real fast.
I don't think Following C is on the lead here.
Okay.
I think Following C is going to try and sit a similar trip to what he sat in the sprint. The other thing I loved about the sprint was that it was a completely new, versatile way for this horse to run. I mean, he was stalking some of the fastest, best sprinters in the world and was able to, if he had found a seam, got through. But not just that. After he got cut off, he went outside and re-rallied. So you saw him want to pass horses multiple times that race. I think this horse can stalk. If Following C can stalk, he's a good horse, man. It's dangerous here.
Let's talk about another horse we both like. Oh, let's go with the 7. He's the 4th for me, but the 7 Olympiad's a fun one to talk about. This is a Bill Mott 3-year-old who, when he was a 2-year-old, if you look back on it now, Mike, with 2020 vision, this might have been one of the best 2-year-olds in the country. Turning 3, just didn't get a chance because he was hurt. But you look who he was beating: Caddo River, Greatest Honor. I talked about him earlier in the show. Reinvestment Risk. Those are all horses that were very good at 3. So who knows what could have happened with this horse? But he's finally going to get the chance to stretch out to 8 furlongs here. He lost to Baby Yoda in that freak race that Baby Yoda couldn't back up. But you know what? Who could was Olympiad. That was his first race off the bench. Now the second start was much better at Keeneland. He is tactical. He can sit. He can press. He can do what he needs to do. Joel Rosario's riding, and 10-1. I mean, sign me up. I'm so excited about this horse.
Oh, yeah, in that last race, I mean, it says tenacious in the running line. They came home in sub 12. I mean, that horse went a 46 half and came home the last furlong in a 7 furlong race in sub 12. That is really impressive. He backed up that first effort off the bench, and the buyer is too high. Ignore the 105. It's a bad buyer. We knew that because Ducati had been getting too big of buyers. That race came back fast. And then Baby Yoda obviously was not as good as whatever, it was a 110 or something ridiculous. So you kind of take that with a grain of salt. But that 98 is 100% legit. The 2-year-old buyers completely fit with what everyone else was running in their previous races. So you take those other 3 races, you take the logical progression you could see here, and you take the fact that this horse was able to show the ability to stalk 2 back, and just couldn't get by a freak Baby Yoda, and was able to win on the lead, and was able to stalk as a 2-year-old. It gives you the faith that, look, Olympia doesn't need to be on the lead, doesn't need to be the fastest horse here, and you've got a lot of really fast horses in this spot. So at 10-1, I think it's a hell of a price on Olympia. I'll be interested to see what this horse actually goes off at a race day. I think 10-1 might be a little bit of a pipe dream.
I really love the breeding for a 1-turn mile setup like this when you've got a Speightstown sire and a Medagliadoro mare, because you're getting the speed from the sire and you got the stamina mixed from the dam. I was looking at this and I was like, God, this horse is so perfectly built to win this race. Another horse we both used is the favorite, number 3 American Revolution. For me, it's pretty simple. This horse has literally improved every single race, and the 2 horses to beat him, Mandaloon and Hot Rod Charlie. Yeah, I think this horse has got pretty good class coming in.
Yeah, I mean, the concern's the distance, right? Is a mile going to hit this horse right between the eyes or not? A lot of state-bred races in there. So you got a little bit of the question of who we've been running against, but the numbers, I mean, fit. If this horse can run to a mile, the numbers it's running at a mile and an eighth, the American Revolution is awfully dangerous.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, here's where we diverge. We're both going to go with 7-2 second choices here. You're on the 5 Independence Hall. I'm on the 6 Ginobili. Independence Hall had that really impressive Nashua win in 2019 as a 2-year-old. He was made him the number 1 overall draft pick in our fantasy league, and then he won the Jerome, and I think that was about it for him for a while. But he's actually a career best buyer in the Fiat with a 105 for winning that. So tell me why you like Independence Hall.
Well, I didn't like this horse for a while. I loved him after that Jerome or Nashua win. I completely don't disagree with Aaron when he drafted him number 1. I thought the horse had a ton of talent, and you know, it just never really progressed well in the Trombetta barn. But guess what? We left the Trombetta barn and went to the Michael McCarthy barn, which is someone that we both really think is a wonderful trainer and highly respect. And then you look at some of these races, and you kind of, if you hold your hand over the name Independence Hall and you just look at what he's done, you know, where I know it's a little crazy when you do it, but like Nick Sco and Idol and Tripoli and Nick Sco are the horses that are beating him. They're pretty good company. I mean, he was only 4 lengths behind Nick Sco at Churchill. The biggest problem I have with Independence Hall and why I'm not higher on him in this spot is because I'm not really sure the way he wins the race, if that makes sense. Like, he's not going to the front, and he's not the most consistent horse at passing people. So that's my biggest issue with Independence Hall. But he's probably the classiest horse in this field when you look at it, especially at the distance. Because, I mean, you can make the Code of Honor argument, but Code of Honor does not want anything to do with a mile. So I have no interest in playing Code of Honor here. I think he's probably the classiest horse at this distance. And you have 2 wins over the track. He's 2 for 2 at Aqueduct. I wouldn't be shocked if Independence Hall gets the job done here.
Oh boy, the chat just got real fun here. We'll start with Chris Mello. He says, Code of Honor and Independence Hall are heading off to the breeding shed after this one, which is true. Does that affect your read on them? Mike, you go ahead and answer.
No, because neither. Look, this is a big time purse. I mean, we're talking about these horses like they're, you know, a couple low. It's a $750,000 race. I mean, like, there's no chump change here. So this is a big time race for either of these horses to win. It would affect both of their breeding statuses. So I would expect to see them both 100% into this because it is a legit grade 1 race. So I think you're going to see both of them keyed up for it. If you know that they're going off to the breeding shed and they're going to run in a grade 2 and they already got grade 1 black type, and then I may have a little bit more of a grain of salt there, but in this case, I think both these horses are going to be ready to go. And we can talk about Code of Honor in a second because I know that's the other part of this chat, but I'll let you talk about the retirement first before we go there.
We talk about the Breeders' Cup. It doesn't really bother me. What was the Clark when we had Maxfield going in there? Aaron, I thought, said it best, is that these horses were targeting those races. It's not like, all right, let's just try and aim for a grade 1 desperately before we retire. They were aiming for that race. These horses, for a long time, specifically Independence Hall and Code of Honor, I knew were aiming for this as their retirement races. Shook said something yesterday where he was like, well, maybe we'll see. No, because this horse is going to retire because this horse doesn't have a shot in hell. By the way, Michael Myers, did you turn in your Tacitus fanboy jacket? Because he made fun of Code of Honor. He said, first of all, he says Code of Honor gets his first legit grade 1 win and retires. He beat Tacitus in the Travers. That implies that Tacitus is a trash horse that he beat for a grade 1 there. So, and then to answer the question, am I done with Code of Honor? I've been done with Code of Honor since the Pegasus, the Clark, sometime last year. Yeah, I've been done with him a long time.
I don't think I ever.
You never started?
I don't think I ever started with Code of Honor. I think I'm still at the starting blocks, man. I forgot. I'm that horse that's just being a dick and standing in the gate after it's open. That's me with Code of Honor.
I see. Code of Honor wins one race at 2018. He wins a couple. He wins three at 2019. One in 2020. One in 2021. The horse doesn't really win that often. So yeah. It says I love Tacitus, but I'm also realistic.
What is the highest odds Code of Honor has gone off since that Travers win?
It is 4.5 to 1.
What?
Which is what he was to win the Travers.
It's not like he's funny. This is against Boat Express, that wonderful horse. No, this is against Knicks Go. This is against Art Collector, Vekoma, like Improbable, like
Complexity.
The best we're getting is 4.5 to 1. It's like, yeah, I'm still in my starting gate, and I am not moving.
So Chris says Code of Honor should have retired after 3. We actually said that. I remember we saw him at the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, and we were in the paddock, and he walked by, and he looked so sad. He just looked small and frail and beat up, and then we don't see him again for 7 months. I think there was a reason we were against him there. Real quick before we got way off on a big tangent there. Ginobili, the 6 horse, is actually my top pick in here, so saving the best for last. Ginobili's my top pick. What has he done wrong? And since he's put on blinkers, what has he done wrong? He faced the best horse on dirt, or 1A in Life is Good. That's it. That's the only thing that he's done wrong, is he faced Life is Good.
I mean, that race isn't good enough to win this race.
Why not?
He would need to improve off that. Someone's going to pop a 103 here, 104 from a buyer perspective. Mm-hmm. He's done that once.
That was his, by the way, first start off with a little bit of a break. So this will be second start of his form cycle. He's popped a 104 and a 102 before.
Yeah, both at Del Mar, both loose on the lead. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, he does have to take it outside of California, which is the big question.
Tell me more about his success in New York. Yeah, there we go. Magic put those Cali blinkers on. He picked the 2 California horses, and neither's going to be within 5 lengths of the winners here. It's like...
real quick before, because I get it. It's a big question mark about traveling. A horse that I went back and forth on and didn't use because I don't think he's good enough to win this race against this group. But the 2 Plainsman's interesting because it's Brad Cox in a grade 1 race on dirt, and he's 12 to 1. And the race 2 back, the Aqueduct, if the pace falls apart, that race could win this one.
You know, I'm actually glad you mentioned Plainsman, because one of the reasons I ended up on Olympiad was because Rosario got off Plainsman to ride Olympiad. I think that is awfully interesting too. Rosario's on that horse the last 2 times, has a ton of success for Brad Cox. I mean, we just saw him win multiple big races at the Breeders' Cup with Brad Cox.
Next go.
And all of a sudden we're jumping on a horse you've never ridden before out of the Bill Mott barn, he doesn't ride that many monster horses out of the Bill Mott barn. It's a very surprising jockey move in that sense. So I'd love to know the how that all came to be. If maybe Plainsman entered this race late and the Olympiad was pointing at it, but how does Rosario end up on this horse anyway? Right? And it's not a match that you normally see. It's a very interesting selection from, if my guess is his agent, and I wouldn't be shocked if Mott reached out and said, I think this horse fits Rosario really well. We want him on him. And there's a lot of things pointing to the 7-horse Olympiad to me here.
I mean, if the way that Joel Rosario's agent has campaigned Rosario's 2021, as odd as that is to sound, is he could break the record for graded stakes wins and earnings in a single season at the same time. That's never been done, at least not in the recent, 40, 50 years. So what Rosario could do is, and it's because his agent does shit like this, is he finds him a Bill Mott horse at 10 to 1 in a grade 1 race with a $750,000 purse, and he's going to be the perfect fit for it.
Yep. It's really interesting how he ends up there. The one horse we didn't talk about that I actually think is relevant to talk about is Pipeline, the 8 horse here. This is a 3-year-old who has just kind of gotten better and better and better. Just broke his maiden 2 back at Saratoga, going 7 furlongs. It was impressive doing it. Then runs back in a 150K stakes race and gets to the lead, and then just kind of gives it up a little bit toward the end. The placement here is what has me intrigued. I mean, Chad Brown dropping this horse into a grade 1 race, end of his 3-year-old campaign, 2 starts off breaking his maiden. It's one of those where it's like, wait a second. It makes you scratch your head a little bit. I guess now that we've talked about 6 of these too, this probably isn't a terrible all race either. If you have an opinion earlier, especially with one of the prices, singling and then going all here probably isn't a terrible idea, because I could make a case for a lot of them here, but I'm probably, it's interesting as we talk through this. I'm going to play my 50-cent ticket, but I'm probably going to play a press ticket, closing with the 1 and the 7 here and opening with the 2 in the first race.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show as far as the horse racing talk goes. Thanks for joining Mike and I to preview Aqueduct's big Cigar Mile card. Again, this is the final weekend of graded stakes action in New York until January 29th. So get those bets in. They put together a really great card. And if you want to see the thoughts on the entire Saturday Aqueduct card, go to racenews.com. Check out the inside track to the Cigar Mile wagering guide, which is available for you to purchase. You will get Aaron's full, big, in-depth previews for all 4 of the stakes races that Mike and I covered, as well as picks and winners for every other race on the card. The big concern I have with the Remsen, Mike, it happens every year. The Fantasy League is drafting in a couple weeks. Someone's going to look really good on this card, either in the Remsen itself or that maiden special weight, and we're going to fall in love. And goddamn, the Aqueduct horses, they never turn into anything.
Well, luckily you're a California homer, so we won't pick them anyway.
This is true, and it's not like all the good California horses can't even earn Kentucky Derby points this year. We'll go ahead and give out our tickets one more time if you're watching the replay or watching us live. Thanks for joining us. Take a look below. We've got them right here. I will start going 2-3 with 3-4-7 with 5-6-8 with 1-3-6-7 for 50 cents. That's $36.
I'm going to go 1-2-6 with 1-2-3 with 1-5-6 with 1-3-5-7. That'll cost you $54 for 50 cents. You might as well play a 1-1-1-1 straight one for $1 just to have some fun.
Might as well just do one of those crazy tournament entries. You just all the same numbers. See if you get lucky.
One in every race. It's got to have a good day. What could go wrong?
Mike Myers says it's going to be his 4th round pick in the fantasy. Whoever wins the Remsen. I bet, you know what? If Zandon wins, I bet gets drafted easily in the 1st round. Not by us.
Yeah.
And not by us.
If Mo Donegal wins and airs, Mo Donegal's going 1st round too.
Yeah, we don't really, because of the Baffer situation, we really don't have that big standout star. Thank God we don't have a prime factor that's emerged yet.
I'm shocked John White is still in the league. I don't know what's he going to do here.
Oh boy, we'll find out. Actually, speaking of fantasy, I had asked Aaron a bunch of questions last week about it, and every question got a response. Announcement coming December 1st. It's December 2nd. There ain't no damn announcement. I'm really mad about it. Not happy with him.
Timing than after them. Oh, shh.
Over at racenews.com/sports, you can check out the Dudes Who Bet Sports show, which is Aaron Halterman and Papa Dude covering this one. They covered college football's conference championship week as well as the NFL action. But really what you need to do is go back and listen to, it was episode 29 from Monday. It was just an hour-plus long therapy session with them dealing with Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma the way he did. Just some of the best stuff we've ever done with the Racing Dudes that we've put out there. It was amazing.
I mean, it's been pretty wild what's going on in college football. I mean, I leave and just all chaos breaks loose, man. What's going on here? And you got Lincoln Riley going out to USC. USC players already revolting. Seniors sitting out of practice before the Cal game. So, by the way, play Cal -4 because apparently a bunch of their draft picks, their seniors aren't going to play. And then you have you've got everything going on in Oklahoma and the who was it, man? The Kelly interview. When he took the LSU job, it was hilarious. What he said to the team and all the other Notre Dame players being like, you said the exact same thing to us earlier in the year. He recycled a speech from Notre Dame, which got posted by LSU Athletics just to get him roasted. I mean, it's just wild what was happening in college football.
The sheer dumbassery of LSU posting that. There's no better way that I can describe that. I mean, it's like, did nobody think about, look at the reaction to what happened when he left the way he did. Why did you think that? You're just asking for trouble. Just a giant crock of shit.
Now, to give LSU their due, I bet they win a national championship in the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he has been dominant at much worse recruiting schools. He is about to have the best facilities, the most money, the least limitations, and the best athletes he's ever had. And he's been a damn good coach everywhere he's been. I mean, he is going to be very, very good at LSU.
And he's not wearing the handcuffs of the Notre Dame GPA requirement. He's going to LSU where the requirement is, did you get past 10th grade in high school? Yeah? All right, come play football at LSU.
The requirement is 4.4. It's your 40 time. It's not your GPA.
That's great. Anyways, raceviews.com/sports, you can catch all of the insight on that. The dude sports it's the only sports show I listen to. I love it. I absolutely love it. I know I'm a homer. But Mike, I know that it's a little early now, but you talked already. You love Cal against USC for that game. Any other Monday, Thursday night football or college games that you like?
So I'm going to, the six pack's going to be back this week. We took a couple weeks off because honestly, I didn't do anything the last couple weeks. So we're going to be back with the six pack this week. The Cowboys game tonight, Cowboys-Saints game is awfully interesting. You're getting Taysom Hill starting for the Saints. This is like a tale of two cities here. Dallas is getting completely healthy, except for their head coach who has COVID. That's probably an upgrade. He sucks anyway. So you get both their receivers back. This is the first time all season all five offensive linemen are going to be in there. The one person who's not that healthy is Ezekiel Elliott, and yet his over-under rushing total is still sitting out there at like 45.5. Take the under. I don't think he's going to get that many carries in this game. I think Pollard's going to get the majority of the load, and I think they're going to open up pretty good here on the Saints. The Saints have been able to keep teams in the game, but man, their defense looked terrible against Buffalo last week. I think Dallas can be able to put points up like crazy. And oh, by the way, the Saints are missing 3 of their offensive linemen, and Kamara's out. This is going to be one of those where the Saints are going to try and hold the ball, grind the clock. If they're successful at doing that, maybe they can keep the game low scoring. But even so, the Cowboys are going to have a couple explosive plays here, and if they get up at all, it's going to be a lot of trouble for the Saints trying to come back. So I played the Saints. I'm sorry, I played Dallas in the first quarter. I have Dallas first half. I have teasers with Dallas. I have the under with Elliott.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned, I remember if it was off air, on air, you said I've been getting a lot of Aaron because he was filling in for you while you're gone, and I love Aaron, but the problem is Aaron and I are the intelligence in the room kind of drops when it's just the two of us. So when Michael Myers posted, Jerry Jones said he's getting a heavy load. I didn't read that he was talking about the running back getting a heavy workload in the game. But on that note, Michael Myers says he loves the Taysom Hill. Anytime touchdown parlayed with Cowboys money line is paying 4-1, and he's going to be playing the Taysom Hill next touchdown angle all night long. So he's really digging, the Taysom Hill starting a quarterback there.
I think Taysom Hill's rushing total is something you can definitely go over with. I think they're going to load up there too. The other interesting part here is the play calling that you're going to see from Dallas. Michael McCarthy was like in the ear of Dallas's offensive coordinator the entire year. Without him on the sideline or be able to say anything, I think Dallas is going to throw the ball like crazy too. So I think you're going to see a lot more pass plays from Dallas and kind of airing it out, because that's what Kellen Moore has wanted to do all season anyway. You saw that especially in the first game of the year. And yeah, I actually agree with Michael Myers. I think if you're gonna look at someone on the Saints who's going to have a game, it's Taysom Hill running the football. Most likely it's going to be successful, and that's how they try and stay in this game and shorten it. Really, I think if you like the Saints, you almost automatically parlay it with the under. Because I don't see how the Saints are going to cover a 35-31 game. They're not covering a shootout. So to me, there's a correlation here between the dog and the under if you do like the dog. Weekend games. Sorry, do you want to say something there?
No, I was going to move to the weekend games, which was specifically this one right here. I was going to thank you and give you a shout out because you see this right here. Cincinnati has 7 wins on the year through 12 weeks. The reason that's important is because before the season started, Mike Somich said to me, Magic, I'm looking at the schedule, and Cincinnati Bengals, they've got a pretty weak schedule, and they're only 6.5 as the over-under. I think that's a pretty good bet. And I was, Mike Somich, you're a smart guy. I'm going to put my whole preseason betting allowance on Cincinnati Bengals over 6.5. So while I donated $20 to you, you helped me out earn a lot more than that earlier.
Excellent. I'm happy. That's just the juice then. I get a little slice. I like it.
Exactly.
That makes me happy. I like Western Kentucky tomorrow night. University of Texas, San Antonio was undefeated going into last week. They laid an absolute egg. Western Kentucky can score the football. That's something that San Antonio doesn't do nearly as well. I think Western Kentucky just goes up and down the field on them. So I'll lay the 3.5 there. I'd wait till game day to see if you can get 3, because I think you might be able to get 3 by the time they kick off. And I don't think it's going to go above 3.5. Right now it's 3.5 minus 104. So you're just laying a little bit of juice there. I like Oregon if you can get 3 there, but I don't like them at 2.5. I do like Alabama this week. I think Georgia's just going to get hammered throughout this whole week. I think you're going to see that line float up. And I like the under here too. Georgia has a great defense. Their offense isn't that potent. It's around turnovers that they're able to create scores. Alabama's been in a couple of defensive struggles. Their defense is very good. Their offense, I think, is a little more potent than Georgia's. So for me, the under is the other thing that I take here.
Well, let's keep going through this because there's a lot of big games. Just real quick, Houston and Cincinnati. Cincinnati trying to be undefeated, make the playoffs. Who you got?
I mean, this is going to be the most motivated team you're going to see in the whole time thing. Like Cincinnati needs to win and needs to put on a show, and I think they're going to do that. I like Cincy team total. I like Cincy minus 10.5.
Iowa at Michigan Wolverines. Michigan a huge, 10.5 points, 11-point favorite to win that game.
Yeah, this one to me is one of those I'm probably taking Iowa in the 11, but I think I don't really have a good feel for either of these teams. I'm shocked that Michigan was able to beat Ohio State, and Iowa's just not that good. But 11 seems like an awful lot.
This feels like to me feels like a major let, especially as someone former resident of Michigan. Usually games like this under the Harbaugh administration, this is usually when they fall apart. They start believing their own hype. So we'll see what happens. Baylor, Oklahoma State.
What's the number?
Let's go find out at racenews.com/sports. We have that information courtesy of Papa Dude.
6 points. I would lay it with Oklahoma State. Although 6 is a lot for a 45 total, but I'm still laying.
I got 5.5 and a 46.5 over under.
So that's been bet up and bet down since then. But yeah, I'd lay the 5.5 or lay the 6.5. I think Oklahoma State's defense is going to be able to take care of Baylor.
Well, all that insight right there, that's available at racenews.com/sports. You can, for all of our insight on this information, follow us on Twitter. I am at Chris Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Blinkers Off was on earlier today talking about the Cigar Mile card as well, so make sure you check those guys out. Subscribe to Dudes Who Bet Sports. Hit like on this video and subscribe to the Racing Dudes YouTube channel if you haven't yet. We've got all the race previews for Aqueduct are going up on the YouTube channel as we speak, so make sure you go check that out. We'll be back on Monday. Mike will be actually back on a Monday show, so it'll be nice to have you back. We'll recap the action and Mike, maybe we'll throw out another little midweek pick 4. We'll see how Oaklawn opening weekend goes. If you're playing Oaklawn's opening Friday card, opening day card, Aaron Halterman and I previewed the late pick 4 for that, so make sure you check that out. So lots of fun action happening over racings.com. Mr. Somich, any parting words?
I think we're gonna have 3 bomb tracks tomorrow. Probably only 1 with grid and tickets, but 2 grids just because I want to cover Aqueduct, Aqueduct, Gulfstream, and Oaklawn. So make sure you check that out. Saturday, I think we're going to be doing Aqueduct and most likely Gulfstream, and then Saturday we're going to do those 2. Sunday, not sure we're going to go yet. And we've got Good Chalk, Bad Chalk tonight. We're doing Charlestown live. If you want to check that out at 9:00 tonight over on the Equinedge YouTube channel, we're going to be covering 3 or 4 races from Charlestown. Had 2 good weeks back to back. Hopefully, we can keep it going.
Yeah, that was the last thing I had on a note. Make sure you check out Good Chalk, Bad Chalk with Mike and Brady. A lot of fun. We'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.